Welcome back. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Our favorite segment, Plant and Gardens, with our expert, Craig Hignight. Thank you for joining us on this wet morning.
Glad to be here, I think.
Well, we'll start off something easy. We've got Denise in Sterling. She asks, I noticed tiny black spots on my green bean plants that appear to be damaging the leaves. Is this a bug or disease? And if so, what can we do about it?
Well, it could be either an insect or a disease. The first thing I would suspect disease to begin with. And the first thing in the garden, I always suggest using a copper fungicide. It's organic. It's what the market gardeners use when they're taking produce down to the farmer's market. So start with the copper fungicide, and hopefully that's going to get things under control.
Easy peasy.
All right, I have, well, Facebook. I was trying to figure out how to go higher on questions. I think you have this one because I've lost a couple of the earlier ones, but Pam says that I have a 2.5-year-old Brandywine tree. The top is leaning. Is there any way I could straighten it up?
Well, Brandywine is a maple. And it's really neat because it's a male maple. It can't make any seed. Has beautiful fall color. Now, it depends on how far above the ground this bend begins. If it's close enough to the ground that you can get up there and work with it, you could put a stake against the straight part of the trunk and then draw the top back over to the stake for a while to see if it goes ahead and straightens back up. But unless this lean is extreme, the tree is going to straighten itself out in the long run. In this area, our trees do not tend to lean. You see that out on the West Coast where they've got the constant wind coming in off the ocean, but this tree's going to straighten up on its own, I think.
All right. Well, Shelley wants to know, when is the best time to transplant a peony?
Well, you've got a little ways to go on peonies. The best time is actually about October 1st. That's just before the plants are going dormant. And of course, you get it out of the ground, back in the ground as fast as possible. And if you're dividing or sharing it, always you look at the buds. They're right at the top of the roots, and you try and have at least 3 to 5 buds that you're putting back in the ground. That gives you a nice big bush when it comes up next year. And yes, those buds go right below ground level.
All right, we have Juanita asking, when can I transplant bleeding hearts and can you split them?
You can do both of those. At this point, I would wait until the bleeding heart goes dormant, which they do when it gets very warm. Bleeding heart are a spring blooming plant. Normally when our days get really hot in July, they tend to fade away. At that point, you could go ahead and at least mark the plant so you can find it. Personally, I would transplant and divide in the spring, just at the first signs of new life. But after it's gone dormant, you can transplant and get it back in the ground. These are really pretty tough plants, so I think once they go dormant, they can be transplanted.
Well, Bill is asking, what's a good fertilizer for asparagus?
Asparagus, it's just a regular 10-10-10 fertilizer, and it should be put on now because we've just gotten done with the harvest season. You fertilize immediately after you get done harvesting, and of course, we're getting a little bit of rain now, and we should get plenty of rain out through July. Remember that you need to invest some water in August and September to go ahead and build next year's crop, but fertilize now.
All right, we have Mike asking, will a Japanese maple take full sun, and is now a good time to plant one?
Now is a perfect time to plant Japanese maple, and yes, they can take full sun, although I have seen some that have done very well in what I would call high shade, but I had a Japanese maple in my yard and it got full morning sun. It did just fine.
Well, we've got a question about a non-invasive, wind-resistant shade tree, but I'll let you think about it and we'll have that answer when we come back from this break.